Good evening. I'm a bit early, but I won't put that. Won't hold it against you. I don't know what I was going to say there. Yeah, let's do some housekeeping till 9 o'clock, shall we? So, good evening, beats and tapes, Shanty, Battle Juice. Battle Juice, there's a cracking name. That's a new one. Like that. Battle Juice. And in the red corner, Kia the prosecutor, Starmer. The guy's a plonker, isn't he? Special Mechanic, Beats and Tapes. Who else we got? Dreadeye and Julie, yep. Right. Battle Juice. Fucking yeah. I like that. I could use some Battle Juice. Right. Where are we? 2058. If you're in the vertical stream, welcome. You'll just have started. You don't get the preamble crap. You'll thank me for it, trust me, because I then have to go in tomorrow and edit the preamble crap off. Because they don't get me swearing at the start of the stream. Then, if you wish to chat and you're in the vertical chat, you can, because I have two chat windows here, one for the vertical and one for the horizontal. To chat, you just need to be a subscriber. There's no time limit. I don't put you in a box or anything and say, now that you've clicked the subscribe button, you have to wait 20 minutes. No, none of that nonsense. You can talk straight away. And you don't even need to pay me. You don't even need to pay me. Donations are always gratefully received, but you don't need to. Vaughn, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Is that 9 o'clock? Nearly. We shall start then, shall we? Shall we start? Right. Welcome back to another episode where we're going to dive headfirst into the murky waters of government overreach and corporate cronyism. Yeah. Am I loud enough? Anyway, today we're peeling back the layers on what might be the most dangerous policy announcement of 2025, Starmer's mandatory digital ID scheme. And we'll see what the likelihood of this is going in or going ahead and who's going to benefit from it. Adam8888, hello, how you doing? Hello. Right, on the vertical that is. Good evening, Shalini. Now, let me remind you that this this matters to every one of you watching, whether you're a student, pensioner, or working, whether a parent or not. Policy will fundamentally change how you interact with your own government, and, as always, I've done the digging so you don't have to. Back's killing me now. Right, did you vote for mandatory ID? Mandatory digital ID cards, or whatever they're going to call them, because I didn't see it in Labour's manifesto come the election. Did you? I don't think so. So this isn't just about convenience or efficiency. This is about power. It's about power, control, and a massive payday for Starmer's corporate cronies. That's twice I've used that word. I think I've ever used it in my life before. Anyway, we're talking billions of pounds in contracts for companies with very interesting connections to the heart of government. So let's paint a picture of how we got here, because the story starts with panic, polling and political desperation. Starmer announced the digital ID scheme on September the 25th or 26th, and the timing is no coincidence. Labour's position on immigration has become what political observers call untenable. YouGov polling shows that 71% of voters believe Starmer is handling immigration badly. That includes 50% of Labour's own supporters. And here's the kicker. Reform UK has surged to a record 35% in polling, more than double their 2024 election performance. Immigration has become the top priority for 27% of voters, up from just 13% before the election. Small boat crossings have reached a record 28,076 people by August this year. That represents a 46% increase on the previous year. It wasn't on their manifesto. You're quite correct, Shalini. So, digital ID announcement. Is it about immigration control? Or is it about political survival? I know what my instincts are telling me. And there's more to it than that as well, because there's the dead cat. Blair's son will get some of it. He's not getting it all. I'll go into what he's going to get and who else is going to get money out of this if it ever goes ahead. So, what does our desperate Prime Minister do? He reaches out for the political equivalent of the dead cat. He throws something controversial on the table to change the conversation. But this dead cat has got teeth, claws, and a surveillance system that would make Big Brother weep with joy. Policy didn't emerge in a vacuum. It was developed by a think tank called Labour Together, which was previously led by a chap called Morgan McSweeney. And he just happens to be Starmer's current chief of staff. And we'll talk more about Morgan later on. And Labour Together published their Brit card proposal in June 2025, this year, calling it a mandatory national digital identity that would be issued free of charge to all those with the right to live or work in the UK. How the fuck is it free of charge when it's going to be built with taxpayers' money and it's going to cost 400 to £1 billion, 400 million to £1 billion? How's that free of charge? Your money. Right, follow the money, they say. Follow the money. Well, the UK digital identity market comprises 266 firms currently, generating 2.1 billion annual revenue, with 10,246 full-time equivalent employees. That's FTE, for those that use those fancy terms. The implementation of mandatory digital ID will significantly expand this market, with development costs estimated between 140 to 400 million, according to Labour Together. And that's just the development costs. And who's positioned to win these contracts? Well, let me introduce you to the potential benefactors. Your money, no choice, says Espresso Mechanic. That's a good one. I like that. It's about keeping us safe, says Adam. Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is, Adam. It's always about keeping us safe. So, iProov Limited emerges as the front runner at the moment, actually. They've already secured 17.5 million in government contracts for biometric authentication and document checking services. Their technology is already used by the UK Home Office for the EU settlement scheme, processing over 4.2 million applications. They provide facial verification for Singapore's national digital identity system. And here's what's interesting. iProov recently won an 11.6 million contract for genuine document check and inspection services for the government's One Login programme. This is the same company that has contracts with the Home Office, NHS, and even the US Department of Homeland Security. It's interesting how the same companies keep winning these government contracts, isn't it? Connecting the dots yet? And then there's also Accenture. Accenture's always got their finger in the pie, haven't they? And PA Consulting. They've established positions through One Login contracts worth 9.5 million and 27.5 million respectively. Deloitte has secured 14.5 million in contracts for mobile app development. Experian, the credit reference agency, holds multiple contracts totaling 18.1 million for identity fraud checks. Experian, fucking useless. Absolutely useless. And I've got stories about them, but I'll go into it at a later date. But wait, there's more. The secondary beneficiaries include Yoti Limited, YOTI, which already provides government-certified digital ID services and has achieved PASS accreditation for age verification. GB Group plc operates multiple identity verification services and works with major UK banks. Credas Technologies has achieved 52% market penetration in the UK housing transaction market. And then, from a training perspective, most people are missed this one because they think he's going to make the app, but no, he's just going to train the people. Because whatever was focused on all the technology companies that are going to make it and implement it, there's another massive winner that nobody's well, people are talking about, but they're talking about it for the wrong reason. Multiverse, the UK's largest apprenticeship training company, founded by Euan Blair. Yeah, Tony Blair's son. While companies like iProov will build the technology infrastructure, Multiverse is positioned to train the human infrastructure needed to implement it. And think about the scale there. This is where it gets big. Implementing mandatory digital ID across the UK will require training hundreds of thousands of public sector workers, local authorities conducting housing and benefits assessments, police officers conducting right-to-work checks, NHS staff verifying patient identities, HMRC workers managing tax and benefit systems, Home Office personnel processing immigration cases, DWP staff administering welfare payments, and so on. Everybody's going to need to be trained. So Multiverse earned 58.9 million from apprenticeship training between April 2023 and March 2024, making them the leading apprenticeship provider in the country. They specialise in digital and data skills training with a particular focus on AI apprenticeships. Watch out for Entrust too. Yeah, there's loads of companies that have got their fingers in these pies, Adam. It's going to be a bonanza if it goes ahead. Like, if it goes ahead. Oh. But don't worry, if you haven't got a phone, you know, something will come up. They'll do something for you. They won't leave you out. I fired up my phone last night. Runs Windows. I've got a Microsoft phone that runs Windows. That'll be cool. I'd like to see them put it on that. Anyway, so do you think it's a coincidence that Tony Blair's son runs the biggest training company just as his dad's pet policy gets the word that it's getting implemented? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it's a complete coincidence. No nepotism there. Not at all. And this is particularly clever actually about Multiverse's positioning. They operate through the apprenticeship levy system. That allows them to provide fully funded training to government organisations. So no direct cost to individual government departments. There's a proven procurement pathway already established. So they just scale the delivery model up across multiple agencies and let the money roll in. There you go. The Blair family connections provide unique advantages. Euan Blair's father was Prime Minister for 10 years. Yes, we know. And maintains significant influence in Labour circles. Yes, we know. And he was a Fabian too, because all Labour Prime Ministers have always been in the Fabian Society. The Tony Blair Institute has been advocating for digital ID implementation since 2023. He's been doing it for longer than that. Having a former Prime Minister's son leading the company provides credibility and access that competitors cannot match. Multiverse's typical contract values like the 990,000 contract with North Hertfordshire Council. The total training market could exceed 1 billion when you consider 670,000 civil servants, 32,000 police officers, 1.5 million NHS workers, and thousands of local authority staff across 333 councils. That's just England. That's just England. Hi, David. Oh, now, what does it mean for your freedoms? What does it really mean for your freedoms? Because my alarm bells are going freaking bing, 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 and they haven't stopped. So according to civil liberties experts, mandatory digital ID systems fundamentally alter the presumption of innocence and freedom of movement that underpin liberal democratic societies. Unlike traditional identification, which operates on a show when required basis, digital ID creates persistent verification requirements integrated into daily life. Big Brother Watch warns this creates a checkpoint society where identity verification becomes an unavoidable part of routine activities. The UK's proposed system creates digital credentials stored on smartphones, transforming your pocket into a mandatory repository of state-issued identity credentials. How many of you would be comfortable with the government tracking every job application, every rental agreement, every service that you access? Wave your red flag, mate. Wave your red flag. Use the red flag emoji in there. Get it up now. So, here's the really insidious part though. Governments typically introduce these systems as optional, but they haven't this time, and then gradually expand the requirements until participation becomes effectively mandatory for accessing employment, housing and public service. And then this creates what scholars call coercive consent, the appearance of choice where none actually exists. But there's no choice here if he's making it mandatory from day one. This is dystopian. This cannot be tolerated. And these people need to be reminded they don't fucking work for anyone else but us. They're not our masters. They're our servants. They are public servants. And maybe they need to be reminded of that. And it hasn't been that long ago that other countries reminded their public servants that they weren't doing their job correctly. It might be that maybe we need to think about doing a similar thing. I'm not saying you should do anything other than write to your MP, but you know what I mean. At Liberty Human Rights, they note this system would fundamentally change the relationship between individual and state. Citizens become subject to continuous verification demands, shifting the burden of proof from the state to justify intrusion to the individual to prove legitimacy. And I've seen plonkers on Twitter saying, well, if you have nothing to hide, why would you do that? Well, if you have nothing to hide, would you then object to the police just wandering into your house at any time they wanted and just having a route around, just in case? You know, if you have nothing to hide, there'd be no reason for you not to allow that. These people don't have a fucking clue about what they are sleepwalking into. And they need to be educated. They really need to be educated. The scale of exclusion, though, would be staggering. Research reveals that over 2 million UK voters lack appropriate photographic identification, while 4% of Britons, 2.1 million people, are completely offline, no digital footprint whatsoever. These numbers represent real people who had been denied access to employment and essential services under a mandatory digital ID regime. The demographics of digital exclusion reveal the discriminatory nature of these systems. Poverty is a key predictor of digital exclusion, as is old age. Only 23% of elderly respondents reported confidence in independently accessing digital services, while 67% relied on family members or paid intermediaries. This would leave everything wide open to abuse, wouldn't it? For homeless populations, 28% lack active phone access and face constant risks of device theft and loss. And if that was stolen, they've just stolen your identity, haven't they? The royal family is nothing, Shanti. It's a figurehead. Royal assent means nothing. I can't remember the last time royalty didn't approve a bill. But let's have a look at that bastion of technology, India. So let's talk about India's Aadhaar system, because it's a cautionary tale that should terrify every one of you. India's Aadhaar biometric ID system started as a voluntary system aimed at reducing welfare fraud. Sounds great, yeah. Sounds familiar a bit as well. But it became effectively mandatory for accessing most government services and many private sector activities as well. So the system has generated massive surveillance capability for the Indian government, which now has access to data on nearly all its citizens, all 1.4 billion of them. Officials can track activities of individuals through their Aadhaar number, connecting them across multiple services and databases. This led to AI-powered surveillance systems like the Punjab Artificial Intelligence System, which links facial recognition with Aadhaar data to automatically flag citizens as dangerous or suspicious. Person of interest. It's coming to a town near you, isn't it? Oh, you can believe that dear one has been hacked. We'll get on to that, Shalini. The security vulnerabilities are equally concerning. Aadhaar has suffered numerous data breaches and leaks, with millions of records exposed. I believe it's in the region of 18 leaks. The system's biometric data, once compromised, cannot be changed like a password. It leaves your citizen permanently vulnerable, doesn't it? For life. So would you trust the UK government to keep your most personal of data safe? Would you? This is the same government that has already lost your NHS data, your tax records, and probably your granny's pension details as well. They've already done that. And don't talk to me about parties, because there is no fucking difference. Government is government. End of story. Doesn't matter who would be in power here. Labour's maybe doing it faster. The Tories would do exactly the same thing. And then we have that great term, don't we? And it's very likely to happen, isn't it? Mission creep. So digital ID systems create comprehensive surveillance infrastructure and enables unprecedented monitoring of citizens' daily activities. And these systems are designed with modularity and interoperability that invites repurposing and mission creep. What begins as employment verification inevitably expands to housing, healthcare, financial services, and general consumer activities. Imagine how easy it would be to track people. And, even think about someone who is abusing the system and says they're disabled. How easy it would be to track them between their different use of the services. And then you could work out at what speed they're moving and how they could get there if they're disabled at that speed. It says this is person of interest. That's what's happening. UK's existing one login system illustrates the pattern. Originally designed for limited government service access, it's already expanded to over 50 government services. The proposed mandatory digital ID would build on this infrastructure, creating a single unique identifier that could join up all government records and log interactions. Digital digital ID systems would enable automated decision making that can deny essential services based on algorithmic assessments of risk or eligibility. And this creates opportunities for systematic discrimination that may be difficult to detect or challenge. So what are you saying, Beats? They're telling me you can't watch Sgt Grumpy anymore. You watch too many videos on this channel for this week. Yeah, I could see that's getting clamped on, couldn't you? Person of interest is nothing on this shit, says Adam. Yeah, I think you might be right, mate. So, why is this happening now? This isn't about improving services or stopping illegal immigration. This is about political survival. Starmer's announcement comes as Reform UK threatens Labour's electoral base. With 64% of Labour's 2024 voters saying they might vote differently. The latest Ipsos polling shows Reform UK leading by 12 points over Labour, with Reform at 34% and Labour at just 22%. Labour's vote share is the lowest Ipsos has recorded for the party since June 2009. And remember, during the election, Labour lost Labour seats to independent candidates from other cultures. That's why Starmer won't crack down on certain groups in society, because he's frightened he's going to lose even more seats. And this is what political observers call a dead cat strategy, a deliberately controversial announcement designed to control the media narrative and distract from other political difficulties. And let's be fair, nobody's talking about anything else. Everybody is focused on this. Do you really think this is about immigration? No. I mean, anyone who thinks this could possibly slow down or hamper the rate of immigration is basically an idiot. I'm sorry, but you would be if you think that would make any difference. So, and this is the part the mainstream media is definitely avoiding, right? The timing of this digital ID announcement, it's not just about immigration polling. It's the classic dead cat strategy that we already talked about, but it's double-edged. Because it's also distracting from the scandal that goes right to the heart of Starmer's operation. Remember Morgan McSweeney? We talked about him earlier. Starmer's chief of staff and the man who orchestrated his rise to power just days before the digital ID announcement. McSweeney was embroiled in a donations scandal that should have every Labour supporter asking serious questions about transparency and accountability. How many of you heard about the McSweeney scandal? I'm sure most of you guys have, yeah? But nobody's talking about it anymore. The police even put it back to the Electoral Reform Committee and they said no further action. So, between 2017 and 2020, when McSweeney was running Labour Together, the think tank that essentially functioned as Starmer's shadow operation, they failed to declare over £700,000 in donations. That's not a fucking accounting error or an admin blip. That's serious money, and that should have been declared under electoral law. There's even an email from his lawyer to McSweeney saying, I think you're going to have to try and pass this off as an admin error. That's not an admin error. That's fucking worse than Father Ted. At least the money was only resting in his account. The Electoral Commission fined Labour £14,250. Oh, whoopee do. For more than 20 breaches of electoral law. 20 breaches. And the smoking gun, as I said, leaked emails from 2021 So Labour's lawyer Gerald Shumash advised McSweeney to describe this massive, and I think I'm going to use the word fraud here, this massive fraud as an admin error. Let me read exactly what Shumash wrote to McSweeney. There's no easy way to explain how Labour Together finds itself in this situation, and that it's perhaps best if the problem was put down to an admin error. This is not an honest mistake. This is deliberate concealment being rebranded as incompetence. And it's far from it. It's a deliberate action. It's fucking fraud. And the police should be taking action on this. This should be going to the Criminal Prosecution Service, not the Electoral Commission. Completely, utterly out of order. And again, points to two-tier policing, doesn't it? It is well dodgy. Remember, and this just wasn't any donation period, £100,000 was gifted to Labour Together while McSweeney was simultaneously running Starmer's leadership campaign in 2020. That's a massive conflict of interest that was deliberately hidden from public view. These guys are rotten to the fucking hilt. The Conservative Party obtained these leaked emails and called for a new investigation. Conservative Chairman Colin Hollenrake said the emails showed McSweeney had deceived the Electoral Commission and described it as an industrial-scale cover-up of a slush fund used to install Keir Starmer as Labour leader, and he's right. Now, don't get me wrong, fucking Tories are just as bad because they're all at it. I don't care. These guys are in government. They need to be clean, and they're not. They are dirty as fuck. But, just as the story was gaining traction, Electoral Commission announced that they wouldn't reopen the investigation, claiming they found no evidence of any other potential offences. Just as the dead cat hit the table. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? How many people have spoke about this fraud? How many people have spoke about this fraud after digital ID was announced? No one. No one. Classic dead cat. Textbook crisis management. When you've got a story that threatens the credibility of the Prime Minister's most trusted advisor, the man who masterminded his leadership victory using potentially improperly funded operations, you throw the biggest dead cat you can find onto the table. And that's what this scandal represents. McSweeney ran a think tank that operated like a political slush fund, taking hundreds of thousands in donations without proper declaration, all while positioning Starmer for power and himself as his right-hand man. That same McSweeney, now Starmer's chief of staff, making decisions about digital ID implementation and government contracts worth millions, if not billions, of pounds. Labour Together wasn't just any think tank, it was the organisation that developed the brick card proposal that became the foundation for Starmer's digital ID policy. So the same organisation that failed to properly declare £700,000 in donations is now the intellectual architect of a surveillance system that will track every citizen's employment, housing and service access. How can you possibly trust these people? They are corrupt and they are evil. This was pointed out by the Conservatives that this represents clear evidence of McSweeney's industrial scale cover-up and that the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff still has very serious questions to answer. But instead of facing those questions, we get this nonsense strategy. These guys need to go. They're out of control. Completely out of control. And that seems to be how modern political management works, isn't it? You don't address scandals, you bury them under bigger, more controversial announcements that dominate the news cycle. The digital ID announcement serves multiple purposes. It makes Starmer look tough on immigration. If you can make a fucking wet bit of lettuce look tough. It changes the conversation away from McSweeney's donations scandal. And it sets up the corporate cronyism for billion-pound paydays. They are ripping the pish out of us. They really are. Every minute of every day. I'm a little annoyed because it's so freaking blatant, isn't it? Is it not? Can you see it? Yes, these people would be in power, whatever government was in power, and that's why I have continually banged on for the last 5 years, Adam, that it's not the party that needs to change, it's the system. The whole rotten lot needs ripped out and replaced. This whole thing stinks of the kind of machine politics that Tony Blair perfected, the fucking evil architect himself. Create powerful, well-funded organisations that operate in the shadows. We have penetrated the cabinet. Use them to consolidate power, then reward the same people with government positions on lucrative contracts. McSweeney goes from running a dodgy think tank to being chief of staff, while companies connected to the Blair network, like his son Euan, Multiverse, position themselves to profit massively from the policies that the same think tank developed. No conflict of interest here. No nepotism. No two-tier business going on at all. It's not governance. It's a protection racket dressed up as public policy. It's completely out of order. And then, just to put the icing on the cake, let's talk about the technical side of the impending disaster that's waiting to happen. The government digital ID service recently lost its certification for the existing one login system after the supplier, iProov, allowed their certification to lapse. This indicates potential implementation risks and the need for robust supplier management. Security concerns have already emerged with reports of high level of risk assessments for government digital identity systems. It doesn't matter, soldier, who you're talking about. Government is government, and they're all fucking corrupt. Every single fucking one of them. Across the world. I'm not getting into religion tonight. Government is evil and corrupt. If hackers can get into the systems run by Marks and Spencer and Jaguar Land Rover, they can get into a national ID card system. And once they're in it, there will be a wealth of information required to steal anyone's identity, all in one place. So who wins from all this? Who really wins? The tech companies, obviously, iProov, Accenture, Deloitte, Experian, hundreds of millions in contracts. Training company, Multiverse, Euan Blair's company, potentially over $1 billion in training contracts. The surveillance state, unprecedented, unheard of tracking capabilities. The stuff of science fiction. Political cover. Starmer gets to look tough on immigration. Who loses? Who always loses? You. You lose. You lose your privacy, your freedom, and your choice. The estimated 140 to 400 million development cost understates the total market opportunity here, which includes ongoing maintenance, updates, and integration with existing systems. the technology sector, this represents a significant growth opportunity in a market already generating nearly a billion gross annually. I mean, you don't need to be a cop for 20 years and work with the police for a further 9 to know when something stinks. And this whole scheme stinks to high heaven. Like a dead cat that's been left out in the summer sun. It reeks of political desperation, corporate cronyism, and authoritarian overreach. Several Liberties groups have noted the mandatory digital ID is highly unlikely to achieve the government's objective of tackling unauthorised immigration. It's not fucking intended to do anything of the sort, is it? Instead, it represents a technological solution to a political problem, offering the appearance of decisive action while potentially creating new surveillance infrastructure that extends far beyond immigration control. And remember, this is one of the most surveilled countries in the world. You link up a digital ID and facial recognition system, and boy, you guys won't be able to go for a dump without permission. What do you think? Multiverse won't get the app, Adam. I thought I was quite clear on that. Multiverse will get the training contract, mate. Multiverse aren't an application development team, they're trainers. They'll get the training contract, and potentially that's worth even more when you look at how many people need to be trained. iProov or Accenture or somebody or Oracle or Palantir or whatever, yeah, they'll be involved in it, yeah. Or Serco or something. Oh. Live in the woods and fashion spears from sticks. Yeah, we might have to, mate. We might have to at some point. So that petition that I signed on, and I don't sign petitions, that petition that I signed on Friday night at 100 and I think it had about 170,000 signatures when I signed it. It's now over, what, 2.5 million? Big Brother Watch has launched campaigns warning of Checkpoint Britain. So the fight's not over, it is just beginning. But the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and right now we need to be more vigilant than ever. Because no doubt these guys will try every stupid, horrible, fucking low-life scheme and trick that they can to try and get this in. And the icing on the cake is that studies have shown that the people most likely to be adversely affected by this are people of colour and in ethnic communities. So this strategy is never going to fucking fly, is it? Never. Right. There you go. That's a short one. That is a short one. But I think it's been intense. Martin's not hard. Blair's sons are getting 300,000 contracts for money for his beast system, petitions, marches, protests. Yeah. Blair's son's going to get a lot more than that. If he does the training for this system, and if the system's put in, Blair's son's on for $1 billion in training. Easily. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. Oh. Oof. Anyway, is there anything else we need to cover this evening? Anything else you want to chat about? That was quite intense, and I'm sorry if I offended it. Well, no, I'm not sorry if I offended you, because if you were offended, you obviously haven't been listening to me much. But if you were offended, you need to wake up. You need to understand what's going on here, because this is a fight for our freedom. This isn't hyperbole. I'm not on here looking for clicks and lights. For fuck's sake, it's not even the horizontal channel isn't even monetized, and I haven't had any donations. So it might not be it might be monetized tomorrow, but it's not monetized. I'm not on here for clicks and likes. I'm on here to give you information. And it's information as I see it. And what I always say is, don't believe everything I've said. Go and verify it. Go and check it out. As always, the stuff will be put up on sergeantgrumpy.com, and you'll have the opportunity to go through the full report. And then you can go and do your own research, find your own resources, and make sure that everything that you are working to is something you believe in, not something somebody's told you. Work to something you believe in. It's like someone on Twitter was ranting about how first cousin marriages are illegal, and they're not. They're not illegal. Common sense would tell you it's a stupid thing to do. A sense of morals would perhaps say, maybe I don't really want to be involved with my first cousin. Because it does lead to inbreeding and horrible things happening to children, which nobody wants, regardless of whose children they are. But don't just take things as read. Do your research before you start cracking off on one. I try to all the time. I try and make sure that everything I give you is fair. Yes, I put a lot of opinion in tonight, but all the facts that I quoted you are from government verifiable sources. All you need to do is go on to the government, go on to .gov UK. You'll find all the information there. There's nothing hidden. Much as Tony Blair and Starmer and McSweeney would like to hide the stuff, it's all out there. The Electoral Commission's got it. They're just choosing not to act any further on it, just to give a fine. The police have chosen not to treat it as fraud. It's merely an accounting error, but it's beyond that. It's well beyond that. The whole thing is stinking. The whole system is rotten. It really needs to go. Beats and tape, John's on here for the groupies. Gee, thanks for that. Delaney says, and it will all collapse. We need to stand firm and not cave. Yeah, we do. It will collapse. It affects all of our kids, families, grandkids. It's a fight worth. Well, it's a fight. It's the hill that you should die on. Yeah, that is true. That is true, Shalini. You're right. Yeah, well, what are they going to do if you say, fuck off? They'll try and deny you access to stuff, and then you'll go to court, and somebody will fund it. So you go to court and take them to court, and the court, even if it goes to the European Court of Human Rights, the court's going to come down on your side eventually. Because you can't deny your citizens access to something just because they won't take a bit of paper. Can you? Can you? Right. Anyway, thank you very much for bearing with me tonight. I hope you enjoyed that. And as always, it's been great for you.